Hi, I'm Tim and this is Timberway Designs. In this series of videos, I take 10 common rocks that I find or a viewer finds and sends them up here. I cut them in half and we get to look and see what's inside of them, and then I'll take them 10 rocks and I'll make a cabochon out of each one that you can see in the next episode. And at the end of me cutting these rocks in half, I got the cabochons from the previous episode, episode 58, that Patricia sent from Michigan. We're going to take a look at those, so stick around for that. So right now we're going to turn the camera around. We're going to take a look at these rocks that viewers sent up from Illinois. So what we have here today are rocks that a viewer from Illinois named Dante sent up. And he actually sent two kinds of rocks here. He sent a collection of rocks that he picked up around Chicago, and then he also sent a collection of rocks he picked up in Alabama. Now, when I was looking at the rocks, the Alabama rocks really intrigued me, so these are the ones we're going to do. We might see the Chicago rocks in a future video. Not for sure on that yet or not. So let's see what Dante sent up here. So we got this one here. It's got looking at a lot of pits and stuff. Kind of looks quartzy. We'll get it wet here. Got some gray pattern and stuff. Probably going to be interesting. This one here looks kind of quartzy. Let's see what we got here. Yeah. Again, a lot of times, you know, you look at these rocks on the outside and you're like, but sometimes when you cut them open, well, you've seen it many times here, they look quite different. You got this one here. Not quite sure we got going on here. Get it wet. It's got some pattern stuff going on there. And this one kind of looks similar to the other one. Looks like it's got eyes going on. So, oh yeah, look at that. Okay. This one here kind of looks like chert or jasper. Few pits, but a lot of times the pits are on the outside. At least I hope they are. Another quartz looking rock here. It looks like it's got some water line going on in it. Well, I'm saying water line because these are the stripes that are running across there like that. Got this interesting looking chunky one here. Ain't no telling what's hiding inside that one. There's a little quartz line running there. Another rough looking one here. Kind of quartzy looking. Looks like it's got some druzy pockets in it. Another chunk here. That one's got a little color running through the inside there. Reddish or pinkish or something like that. There we go. Look at that. Okay. That will make an interesting cut. And this one here. It's got some lines and stuff running through there. Now, since I'm not from Alabama, I can only guess at what these rocks are. This one here, maybe chert, maybe, I don't know. Looks like it's got the fracture like that. So let's take these rocks downstairs. Let's cut them open and see what's really inside of them. So I'll meet you downstairs on the saw. All right, down here on my high-tech 10-inch lapidary saw, I got the rocks that Dante sent. He picked up in Alabama. We're going to start cutting these things and see what's inside. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to touch up the edge here. This is a continuous rim sintered diamond blade. I just want to show you, I'm rubbing my thumb on it right now. It don't cut with a point, it cuts by grinding. See, it don't even cut the glove. And the diamonds do the cutting, and what I do occasionally is I'll expose more diamonds with this grinding wheel here. So let's get started. About 3 times through is all you need. You don't want to be pushing it more than that because you don't want to wear your blade up. All right, do this one here. So this one got a little color going on there. Let's, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this end off right here. All right, episode 59. Let's see what Dante sent us. Ooh, that looks kind of cool. Pattern in there. And we'll talk more about these rocks when we get upstairs. We're just going to look at them quick. So this one here, white had this here, so I'm going to cut it just like that. Let's see what we got. Holy, wow, look at that. Who knew? That's cool. This lumpy one here. And I thought maybe cutting it off the end here, but I'm thinking of just slapping it down the side. Okay, pattern and color. That is very interesting. Looks like there's almost fortifications right there. Huh? Okay, this one here. I'm going to cut it. I'm just going to cut it right now. Okay, cool looking pit-free rock. Got some goldish color stuff going on in there. Cool lines there. Okay. I got this one with eye looking stuff on it. Thinking I'm going to cut it down this side here. Now, I don't cut a rock in half no matter what. Sometimes I'll save some of it for the cabs, or I'll just cut it down the side for a cab without being too thick and having to come back and cut it. We got some pattern in here. All right. That's different. Got this lumpy rock here. I'm thinking I'm gonna cut this face off here. I'm gonna come just like that. All right, that one cut really easy, but let's see what we got inside. Ooh. Got some porous stuff going on in there though. Quartz there. Cool. Waterline looking here. I'm gonna cut this face off right here. So is the inside gonna look just like the outside? Yep. I'm liking that though. Alright, this one here. I'm going to cut it. I was going to cut this off here, but I think I'm going to cut this off here. Alright, let's see what we got here. Okay, that's why I cut it like that. So now I got this cool looking line running through there, and I think that'll help make an awesome looking cabochon. It feels like a really smooth cut too. This one here, I'm going to cut this one. I think I'm going to cut this side off here. Right? We're going to cut this side off here like that. at that. Now you would never know that looking at the outside of that rock right there. Wow. Move the camera just a little bit here. It's focusing on this thing here. I want it to focus on the rock. And last one. Let's see. I'm going to split it right down the middle. And let's see what we got here. Look at that. Look at the red in there. Dark orange. Wow. Okay. We're going to gather these rocks here. We're going to take them upstairs and we're going to take a very closer look at them. So we'll see you upstairs. Alright, let's see what we ended up here with. I'm going to take it and run it through the bath here. Get the crumbs off. So this is one of them quartzy looking ones here. The outside. There's the inside. Nice subtle design, relatively void pit and fracture free. I think that'll make a nice looking cab. And this one here. Now this one here, I might take another cut. It looked like I had it thick enough there, but it kind of goes down into nothing there. But look at the outside of this. Maybe a little orange there. Look at that. So this looks like a healed fracture right there. Yeah, everything you see on here, that's not a pit. That's just part of the stone there, and the pink is awesome. So I'm kind of pleased with that one. This is going to be cool. I might come back and take another slice out of this one here, but I'm liking that. Had this crumbly looking one here on the outside. That's what it looked like. Here's the inside. Beautiful pattern. The only issue I see is that that's all pits in this white stuff right here. So I might be able to poke around and find some solid. This red looks really cool. So this might take another cut, get a good chunk of cabbing material out of this. But look at that. Who knew? Let's see, this one here. It's another one, the outside, kind of blah. You can see a little bit of color right there. And then you cut them open. And look at that. A druzy pocket right there. I'm liking the pattern. Almost looks like fortifications along the top right here. Isn't that pretty? From that. Crazy. Got this dark one here. Now I went ahead and cut this end off because relatively pit free. I got lots of subtle color and stuff going on there. I might have to hit it again though, because I see a few pits, and I don't know. We'll see when I get around to cabbing this. I like them. I just, you know, not expecting that kind of color in there. I might do another cut here too. Cut this side off and see what's over there. So there's that one. And another, this quartzy looking one here. There's the outside. There's the inside. Who would know that this is almost red on the inside? Kind of a mossy looking, I'm looking over to the camera right now. I think that'll make a pretty cab. We had this waterline looking quartzy rock here. Kind of see that. just, you know, it's just kind of soft and subtle is the words that come to my mind looking at this rock here. Look at that. Just nice and smooth. That'll be pretty. And this one here had a little great debate in the mind here. You know, do I cut it this end off here, or do I split it like this? Well, I end up splitting it lengthwise because I was kind of hoping I'd see some lines and stuff in there, and I was not disappointed. And that's all smooth cut. I don't see any fractures or anything in there. So now I got some different colors and some pattern to work with. And got this other coarse one here. That's what it looked like there. And this is another one I debated with. I was almost going to cut off this side right here, but I decided to go for the long cut. And look at that. This is all solid rock, all up in here and all up in here. And I'm liking the pattern a lot. Yeah, it's almost agate in this area here. So I might, see, it's a little thin. This is a little thin for me to make a cab out of. So I'm going to come back and I'm going to cut a nice thicker chunk with including this right here, because this is probably be where the cab will come from. Who knew? And finally I had this one here. Okay, actually I had a red line in, I didn't notice that. I cut it right in half. This is what we ended up with. It's got a few fractures and stuff in there. I might go back and trim out a chunk for the cab. I think it's going to be nice and shiny, whatever it does. Now, when I was cutting these rocks, I've been having problems with the camera mount I use. It's been moving on me and all kinds of stuff, and I got to put it here and put it there. I noticed it was focusing on the drip thing on the saw where that covers the blade guard. So I'm hoping these rocks aren't too out of focus. I got a new camera mount coming. Should be today or something that's a little more solid, so hopefully won't be dealing with these issues anymore. So just letting you know. All right, I'm going to move these out of the way. I got some cabochons from episode 58 that Patricia sent from Michigan. And we're going to take a look at those, and I want to thank Dante for sending these rocks down. I think we're going to make some awesome cabs, so we'll see what they look like next week. All right, let's look at some cabochons from the rocks I cut in half in episode 58 that Patricia sent from Michigan. So first up, I had this one here is a piece of prehnite, and I think that's rhyolite. And I can tell it's prehnite because you can see copper in it. And right off the end of my fingernail right there, you can see the copper flashing. So we'll put a little water on it here. Now I had a lot of problems with this one. The brown stuff, the rhyolite, I tried making a bigger cab and this stuff just kept chipping off when I was on the 80 grit. And then I kept running into druzy pockets. And then I couldn't use this piece anyways because it was so thin. So ended up with a really small little cabochon by the time I got done. Really good shine. Actually, you can see some copper right there. I can get it to shine for you, kinda. So this, I'm glad. I'm surprised I got this much of it because it kept falling apart on me. So, but made a nice shiny little prehnite cabochon. So there's original rock and there's cabochon I made out of it. I had this one here, and this one had a fortification in it. You can kind of see it there, and can't quite see it there. Here's cabochon, absolutely shiny, just like a mirror. Can barely see the fortification in there. You can kind of see it on the back side right there. You can see that little point there. But yeah, you can kind of see it. You can kind of see it right there making a point. So there's the original rock, and there is the cabochon I made out of it. This piece of feldspar here. Put a little water on that. Pretty plain, not a lot of pattern or anything, but feldspar is great because it makes an absolutely beautiful shiny cabochon. And there's just a little tiny pattern there, and then a little of that speckly orange stuff showed up in it. Yeah. Really no fractures, no pits. There's the original rock, and there's the cabochon I made out of it. Then we had this chunk of flint here with this nice, cool looking blue stripe running through there. And I tried to cut it because I wanted this stripe in the cabochon. So the way I cut it, I didn't get a lot to work with here. This is really, really thin. So I took the thicker side, and this is what I ended up with. Beautifully shiny flint cabochon, and I got the blue stripe running right down the middle, just like I wanted. That is pretty there. This is probably my favorite going into this. So there's the original rock, and there's cabochon I made out of it. Then we had this other stripy one here, and I'm not really sure what this is. I don't think it's quartz. Not really sure. I'll get it wet here. They had these two brown stripes running through there, so in the piece that I used to make the cab, I tried to incorporate that into it. Look at that. Got both of them. Got the thicker one there. Got the thinner one there. Shined relatively good. No complaints there. Had a few fractures in it, but nothing that I would say takes away from the cab. There's the original rock. There's cabochon I made. And we had this crystal geode looking little thing here. Well, I didn't know it was a geode until I cut it in half. Had a beautiful lacy pattern in it like that. Nice geode pocket in there. There's cabochon. Look at the pattern in that. Nice shine. There's the back. Now, I'm going to try to pick the wax out of the geode pockets here because obviously you can see it on this side here. So I'm going to try to clean that out. I just didn't have a chance before I went to shoot this video. Look at that. That's pretty. So there's the original rock. There's cabochon I made out of it. I had this red brick looking rock here. Had a lot of pits. Had kind of a little pattern going on in there like that. I didn't have high hopes for this one. Look at the cabochon I made out of this though. Beautiful shine. It's got pits, little undercutting stuff, but it just doesn't take away from the pattern and the shine I got out of it. Look at that. So there's the original rock. There's cabochon I made out of it. All right, this was that piece. If you look back in the cutting episode, it had a chunk of crystal in it, and I cut it off, and this is what I had here. This rock was tough. Here's cabochon I made. I managed to get the crystal pocket right there, but it had so many soft spots. I had a heck of a time trying to keep it in shape. Had a few pits going on in there. Beautiful shine. So there's what's left of the original rock, and there's the cabochon I made out of it. All right, this one here was my favorite going into here. This is absolutely gorgeous. It's got this bluish agate looking stuff. It's got some, looks like hematite or something, and then it's got this white quartz or calcite, and then it had this really soft stuff in the center here. I had the hardest time making a cabochon out of this thing because this white stuff, touch it to the wheel and it just started melting just like chalk. Well, here's the cabochon. And I started out with an ellipse, but I had such a hard time with the softness of this side here. It kind of deformed. So I'm going to make this, call it a natural shape now. The fortification part is just beautiful. And it just, I liked all the colors in there, but it was so hard to work because of how soft it was. Actually, you can see when I was finishing it up how, I mean, I was hardly touching the wheel and just eating away at this stuff. So there's the original rock, and there's the cabochon I made out of it. And this one here, in the comments, Patricia said she thought this was a, could have been a geode. Obviously it wasn't, it looked more like a gray mud ball. I didn't have high hopes for this rock here. It cut real easy, it made a cab real easy, but look at the shine on this cabochon here. It's just like glass. Got just a tiny, minute pits in it, but look at that. I had never thought it would shine like that. So there's the original rock, and there's the cabochon I made out of it. So episode 58 here that Patricia sent from Michigan. I'm going to let her pick out 3 cabs for herself, and then the other ones are either going to end up on Etsy or in a dud bag. I haven't made up my mind because some of them just aren't up to my standards, but we won't talk about that now. But there's some really cool cabochons in here, so I'll let her pick out 3 of those, and then we'll move on from there. So let's turn the camera around, finish this up. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching me cut them rocks in half that Dante sent up from Illinois that he picked up in Alabama. There's some really cool looking rocks there. But, you know, I like when the outsides are kind of blonde, you cut them open and there's like color and all kinds of cool stuff inside. So those should make some interesting cabochons, I think. Well, I'm pretty sure. So, and then the rocks, the cabs I made out of the rock Patricia sent from Michigan. Most of them were good. Some of them were kind of questionable. You know, I had to work pretty hard to get a cab on, but we still made cabochons, and I still think they all look pretty cool. So all these rocks, like I said, not all of them that you don't pick out will end up on Etsy. Some of them probably won't. Well, they'll end up on Etsy in a different form. So this video comes out every Wednesday. I got another video that comes out every Saturday where I make a cabochon from a rough rock or slab all the way to the finished cab, my process, the way I do it. And then all you viewers out there, thank you, and especially the subscribers. And if you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing. Just push the button down below, absolutely free. Slide over, give me a thumbs up. Gets the analytics out there so more people can find this content. And you can hyperlink it on your mobile device. You can share it with your friends and whoever. And push the bell to get notifications. At least I hope that's the way it works. And I'm going to put a playlist up for these rock cutting videos so you don't have to hunt around for them. And then I'll put the last video, episode 58, up if you want to see Patricia's rocks being cut in half. And then you can come back and see the cabs again if you want. So thanks again, Dante and Patricia, for sending the rocks in. I really appreciate it. That's all I got, and I'll catch you later.